Hey, and welcome to Geek Out. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake. I'm Josh.
And that was a thrilling 8-bit rendition of Iron Maiden's The Trooper. What album? Is that Power Slave? Or no, Peace of Mind, right?
Yeah, Peace of Mind.
Right, yeah. Probably my favorite Iron Maiden
Killing
song.
is business.
Business is good.
That's not Iron Man.
No, it's Megadeth. Maybe we'll do 8-bit into Megadeth next week.
Ooh. Maybe.
Maybe. It's got to exist, right? Symphony of Destruction, something out there.
8-bit Symphony of Destruction?
Yeah. Link us.
Yeah.
Link us if you find something. Zach.
Tweet us, Zach.
Tweet us, Zach.
I
imagine
if any of our followers had it, it would be Zach.
Oh, he's Mr. 8-bit. You know, I think he has more NES games than I do, which is impressive. But
Most impressive.
Very. But so this week we've got an interview, with comics writer Jim Zub. If you're a fan of Samurai Jack, he wrote the Samurai Jack comic for IDW. If you like Conan the Barbarian, like Jake, he did the Red Sonja Conan the Barbarian crossover. He recently wrote Skullkickers for Image Comics. Right now he's writing Wayward, which was kind of it was really kind of pitched as what if Buffy took place in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when me and Jake worked the Image booths, that's how we would pitch it to people that swung by the booth, and you could just see like that would be it.
Yeah,
that's all you would need to say.
The 1-2 punch.
Yeah, Buffy, Japan, pow.
Sold. And the fact that those volume ones are $9.99.
Yeah. So if you haven't read it, comic book stores everywhere on Comixology. The Jim's here because the third arc of Wayward will launch on November 18th. That's a Wednesday, and of course the first issue will be marked down to $1 on December 2nd. So if you're looking for that jumping on point, it's right there. So without much further ado, here's our interview with Jim Zub. And joining us, we've got Jim Zub, writer of Skullkickers, writer of the IDW Samurai Jack. He's here promoting his most recent comic with Image, Wayward, which sees its third story arc on November 18th. The first two story arcs available in comic shops everywhere and on Comixology. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So when we last left off, for anyone who needs the refresher from the end of the second arc of Wayward, we saw Rory and all her friends basically declare themselves as the new gods of Japan. They're targeting these temples that kind of have a protective ward on the city of Tokyo. Is that kind of the mission statement for the series moving forward?
It's definitely the next level. So we wanted to really amp things up, and throw people this curveball that they thought they kind of knew what the series was all about. I know when we announced the series originally, there was sort of the chat of like, okay, it's sort of like Buffy-esque kind of thing. And that was a way for us to get people in the door and sort of say, okay, if you like, Buffy or teenage kind of drama and the supernatural, you're going to enjoy this. But we've always kind of had in the back of our minds these bigger plans, these bigger ideas to sort of take us into different storytelling possibilities. And now we're really kind of unfettered, like we can really run with that and kind of go buck. So I'm really excited about it. And Steve and Tamara on our art team they're just crushing it. Everything looks amazing. We're really, really pumped for the third arc and continuing to throw people curveballs. I mean, that's why I kind of like that. It's like a team book that doesn't have a team, and it's like, there's supernatural components and the mystery kind of elements to it. And we're sort of trying to dodge. We don't just want to fall into one kind of storytelling where people are just like, oh, I get what this is,
Well, and I was very surprised that, for a lot of the second arc, you had Rory separated from, I guess, INA and the rest of the core group.
Right.
And there has been a lot of, I was surprised, again, spoilers for anybody at home that hasn't read Wayward, I guess just skip ahead 30 seconds or something. But I was surprised, Rory's mom went out as quickly as she did.
Yeah, no, it was it was something where I think we wanted to sort of defy expectation. We didn't just want it to be sort of a typical kind of a team book where everyone gets together and there's a leader and they go on little missions. We wanted to, right from the, in the original pitch, it was much more straightforward. We had a very standard kind of, okay, these guys are all going to work together. And then once we started really kind of fleshing out the story for the first arc, I said to Steve, I said, I feel like it's a little too pat, and I feel like we can go further with this. And he was super supportive. He was just like, I want to make something that you're going to be proud of and I'm going to be proud of, and let's just do something. I mean, the creator-owned book is where you take those risks. That's where you don't have to worry about a corporate or an editorial kind of mandate, right? This is our book. We're building it the way we want to, and at the end of the day, that's every image book is a passion project, and so we wanted to make sure that we were pushing it as far as we could and trying to do something really unexpected and different with it, because this is the place for us to let loose and do that,
For in terms of passion projects, what really was it about Japanese culture that kind of like drew you into it? I mean, you had kind of touched on it, I suppose, with Samurai Jack, even though he's kind of like in the future. But yeah,
Samurai Jack is a very different kind of project because you're obviously building off of what's already there. Steve and I had wanted to work together on something. We weren't sure, on a creator-owned project for years, but we didn't know what sort of shape that was going to take. And then when schedules finally lined up, and I had been doing Skullkickers for a couple of years, so I had, the experience under my belt that it wasn't just a matter of, okay, we should do something, but like I can get this thing off the ground. I can get us, with a publisher, and they're going to take us seriously. We started seriously looking at what kind of book is going to excite both of us. And Steve's wanted to do supernatural kind of Tokyo story for a long time. That was really his kind of thing. One of the things he always says to me is like, he hates the way that Tokyo in particular is portrayed in the media, Hollywood kind of stuff, where it's just like ninja temples and high-rise buildings, and he's like, this is an incredibly diverse city. It's incredibly varied, communities and all sorts of really cool visual stuff. So he wanted to just sort of make Tokyo a character and put these really cool stories inside of it. And then I had an idea about mythology, and I didn't really have a setting for it. I think my base assumption it was going to be something more Eurocentric, because I think of mythology and you think of like whatever, the European style stuff.
Yeah, the Greco-Roman, yeah.
And things like that. But the way that we look at mythology in our lives in a modern world. And so we just sort of fused those two ideas together and said, well, there's no reason why we can't make Japan the setting. I love Japan. I've traveled there multiple times. Steve lives there. This project doesn't have to be Eurocentric, so let's go in another direction with it. And the more research I did, I knew some yokai stories, which is what this was built off of. But once I did more research, I realized, man, this stuff is incredibly rich with potential, and the vast majority of it is not something that the general public in North America knows. And so it's got a really interesting feel to it, and it's going to be really different and kind of jump out. And at the same time, we can take some of these traditional stories and give them a bit of a modern spin and try something really different with it. And that's kind of how it all came together. It's sort of the fusion of these, different things that we love and putting them all into one kind of melting pot.
I did like how at the in the afterword of the second trade, you basically kind of reveal that the temples in real life were kind of 19th century tourist traps, or they started out as 19th century tourist traps?
Well, and we even address that in the actual comic. So one of the characters basically says, I thought they were just like, that they didn't do anything. And then one of the Suichigomo, the earth spiders, basically says, oh, they didn't do anything until they did, until they basically imbued it with, these proxies of power and stuff like that. So we sort of took the real history and we kind of fused a more mystical kind of thing over top of it. So it's sort of get the best of both worlds out of it.
I will admit, earlier in at the beginning of the second arc, I think you kind of hint at the suicide forest, and I was like, that would be so just cool, if they went there.
Oh, totally. Well, there's so much stuff. Like I said, I think one of the toughest things is sort of narrowing our focus, because the more you dig in on the lore, you realize, man, this is just vast, and there's so much cool stuff that we could do, but you don't want it to get so diffused and so all over the place that you're not telling a character story anymore. You know what I mean? Like you'd need, hundreds and hundreds of chapters to give it all the attention it deserves. So we need to sort of narrow it and say, okay, like, we had a thing where we were introducing a lot of new creatures, and it's like in the third arc we have some new ones, but I didn't just want it to be like Monster of the Week kind of stuff. I wanted to make sure that we took a few of them and kind of hunkered down. Like the Suichigomo have a very specific reason in the story, and the Jorogumo, which is the the Spider Woman that is working with them, or the Kitsune, or like stuff like that. We wanted to take these specific ones and say, okay, this is the role that they have in this kind of arcing supernatural society, or whatever you want to call it, of the yokai, or this is the role that they play against each other, so that we're not just throwing so many creatures at you that you're not getting any depth or any anything more than just the surface.
And it seems that like readers are really responding to it. I mean, we were running over some of the sales numbers, and I mean, Wayward's, in comparison to your previous Image book, Skullkickers is doing very well.
Doing very well, and it's stabilized really strongly, which is huge. It's one thing to start off strong, and a lot of Image number one sell crazy numbers because everyone's sort of hedging their bets on what's going to be the next big whatever, if there's any media pull or all kinds of stuff. So you expect those astronomical kind of like number one numbers, but then where are you by issue 7? Where are you by issue 9? What's the readership sticking around like? And so we've been fortunate enough that we've got a pretty decent readership. Like, I don't know DC's exact numbers, but I know that from what I can tell, we're selling better than most Vertigo books, on a monthly basis, which for a non kind of corporate project, for something where we're building this brand name from scratch, that's really unbelievable. Like, it's really amazing. And I feel very fortunate that we've been able to grab hold of a readership that's getting passionate about the characters, and they're passionate about the story that we're building, and I can't take that for granted. I never want to be like, well, I know exactly where we're going to be, in terms of our sales at issue 15 or whatever. Like, I always have to assume that, people, there's a lot of great stuff out there, and they have lots of options to spend their dollars. So I've got to make sure that every issue is engaging and intriguing and leaves them on a note where they ideally don't wait for the trade. Trade's great, and those sales are very crucial over the long haul. But our month-to-month sales, that's really what's keeping us moving.
Yeah, afloat. Now you had mentioned that you can't take things for granted. You've been in comics for quite some time, over 10 years now, and I believe it was this year that you finally crossed the 100 published issue threshold across all your books. Across, Jake is a huge Conan fan, and of course you did the Conan Red Sonja crossover.
Yeah.
Well, if there was anything you could tell, like 2002 Jim Zub about to break into the comic industry.
It's super weird. Like, comics, I got into animation originally because I couldn't see a career in comics. At the time when I was growing up, everything was so, you had to be in New York, you had to be an American or a really, really talented Brit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel like I had any way to connect to that industry. And so I got into animation because there's lots of animation production in Canada, and there was a school that was teaching it that I could, go to. And you'd look at the credits of a film and you'd say, oh, there's hundreds of people there. I could be one of those people. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you look at a comic book and there's 3 or 4 credits and you're like, I could be one of those. I mean, it feels a lot more on a pedestal. It feels way more out of reach. And so, it's unbelievable to me when I look at the sort of progression that I've had. And it's one of the things that I try. You're always looking towards the next goal, and you want to have the next project and the next big thing happening. But one of the things I've noticed over the years is a lot of freelancers, their jealousy, their grass is greener kind of scenario is constant, where they're never happy with what they're doing, or they're never
like comedians,
happy someone else is announcing something else, and someone else is doing a project they'd love to do. And obviously, that happens to me as well, but I try really hard to look and go, hey, this is really cool. This is going well. I grew up reading Conan, and so having my name on a Conan book is like kind of mind-bending, doesn't quite feel real, you know what I mean?
But you get to add to mythology.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a writer today if it wasn't for playing Dungeons and Dragons growing up. Having my name on a D&D book, that launched to tie into the 5th edition of the game, and that's just strange at times to me. Like, when I talk about it or when I think about it, I love the Samurai Jack cartoon, and when I watched it when it first came out, I was a huge fan, and to think that now I'm a small part of that, it's phenomenal, and it's one of the things I really try not to take for granted or be, oh, well, of course, I'm doing this. It's like, no, this is still very cool. This is still, I don't want to lose that kind of excitement and wonderment. It doesn't mean that, I'm going to be able to, you got to pick your projects and you got to sort of, parse your time out. And as I've been able to do more things, more opportunities are coming up, which is great, but you can't do it all. But by the same token, I don't want to lose that sense of, hey, this is something very special and something very, kind of rare in that sense.
Well, and I think that kind of passion and that not taking it for granted thing just shows in how you kind of respond to your fans as well. I think one of the things that if you guys at home aren't aware, Jim Zub's got on his website has a meticulous, comprehensive step-by-step process how to, break it into the comics industry. And
it's one of the weirdest things. People those blog posts are they're super unexpected that they would kind of go as viral as they have, because they kind of just built off of people asking me stuff on Twitter. They were just asking me like, oh, well, how do you write a script, or how do you get that job, or what? I don't understand how you went from here to there. And 140 characters isn't going to cut it. So I wrote a couple blog posts to just sort of say, well, this is what I think about that. And because I teach as my day job, I still have a day job. I haven't switched to comic writing as a full-time gig, although it's sort of like juggling 2 full-time jobs at this point. And so I kind of get into teacher mode and just started writing about my experiences on it. And it wasn't like this is the only way to do it. It was just sort of here's what I've seen, and if you find this useful, I hope that this is good. And people have really, really responded to it.
Well, I mean, even outside of your website, both Jake and I were working with Image at San Diego. I worked at New York, and you were. I mean, Jake, you want to kind of?
Well, yeah, I was going to compliment you, and then also kind of throw in a question there too. I mean, I saw, I was one of the guys holding the iPad and kind of helping out during signings, and you were like either the first or second signing I was working with at San Diego, and just to see how enthusiastic you were and the energy you had for fans or just people walking around. Like I could see you win people over just by talking to them. And that was really cool to see, because, I've seen other, artists, writers, creators, and not that they were, mean or angry or anything, but, sometimes I think the energy just, they don't have it there that day. How do you keep your energy up? Because it was just, I saw you the whole weekend. You were just kind of running around. You had things to do, and you just seemed so excited to be there, and
especially at San Diego.
Yeah, at San Diego being this massive thing. So yeah, it was. That was just one of the things I saw, and was wondering how do you keep that energy up, especially at such a big thing like San Diego.
I don't know that everyone's all different. In terms of how they react to social situations. So I don't think there's any sort of formula to it. It's something where I do meeting people and interacting in those spaces energizes me. I get exhausted. I get really tired over the course of a show, but in general, those types of interactions are a real positive thing for me. I know other people, I don't want to put it in simple categories of introvert or extrovert or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I know other people where every interaction is taking energy away from them. They're, they can only do so much of this because their default setting is not sociable, for lack of a better term. And it's for me, it's kind of the opposite, talking about it and getting away from the desk for a while and being able to say, hey, there's real people on the other end of Twitter or on the other end of these books reading it and enjoying it and taking the time to come see me. I mean, that's special on all sides. And I want them to know that it inspires me, that it keeps me sort of rolling. It doesn't mean I can always be 100%. New York Comic Con this year was absolute madhouse. I've been telling my wife that this year felt like it kind of leveled up. All the shows that I did were a lot busier. The response to Wayward's been really strong. The Samurai Jack thing went very well. And so there's a lot more kind of people pulling on me at all times. And I was trying to describe this to her, and she came with me to New York to help me at my table. And after a day of it, she's like, oh yeah, it's different now. It's a lot more intense. And there was a couple times where I couldn't get lunch. I couldn't eat a sandwich. She would be like, you have to go duck behind the pipe and drape behind the booth and eat because you can't finish eating before someone is coming over to talk to you. You don't even get to eat properly this is weird, you know what I mean? And it was weird for me too, because until she pointed it out, I was just like, oh, it's okay. I'll, take a bite every 10 minutes or whatever. And it's cool. It's exciting. I don't want to, again, like take that for granted or be like, oh, this, I don't know. Comic book fame is so tiny compared to any other type of media, anything, you know what I mean? Like even the most tiniest of television actor goes through 10 times what anyone in comics would deal with. So it's not really, I wouldn't even call it fame, like unless I'm at a convention and there's a sign behind me, 99.9% of people aren't going to know who I am or recognize me or anything like that. So it was just a really cool experience being there and having people excited about what I do. And yeah, I do get super pumped about it. By the time we hit like Saturday night though, on that show, I couldn't even go out in the evening. We were supposed to meet up with people and head to one of the parties. And we finished up dinner and I just went back to the hotel and laid down. You do run yourself pretty ragged at these shows, but that's one of the reasons why you do it. You really kind of want to push yourself and see people and interact. So that's how I feel about it.
I have to say, even ragged, you bowl a hell of a game, Mr. Zub.
Oh, thank you. that was so there. Just for some context, there, the Image Comics had a party at a bowling alley. I forget what it's called.
Bowl. I don't know the play.
Yeah.
Bowlmore, yeah, Bowlmore.
Bowlmore, yeah. And so there was like beers and bowling. I probably haven't been bowling in maybe 10 years, maybe 12 years or whatever. And things just went well, and I had like the best game of my life. Everyone in our crew is like kind of messing around, like they're like just fucking the ball or going on other people's turns. And once I realized I'm having a really good go, I was like, oh, I'm paying attention now. So everyone else in our crew was just sort of messing with things, and I'm like waiting for my turn and getting really absorbed in it and trying to impress, like probably 14-year-old me who couldn't even throw something down the lane or whatever. But that was an anomaly. That was not. I don't have any bowling skill that I know of.
You got me beat. I remember you saw when I barely cracked 100 that one time. I was just like, that never happens. But yeah, before we let you go back into the Canadian wild,
nice.
Did you want to? You've got Street Fighter Unlimited with reuniting you with Skullkickers Eddie Huang coming out in December. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah. So Edwin and I obviously like super close, and the way we met originally was he had applied to Udon looking for art position. The studio wasn't looking for anyone, and I was working there as a project manager, and I saw his portfolio, and I said, "Oh, this guy's really good. Like we should stay in touch with him." And so he and I ended up sort of staying in touch online, and one thing led to another, and we did Skullkickers together. But he's always wanted to work for Udon, and he's always wanted to do Street Fighter stuff. And with the new game coming out, Udon's got a renewed slate of Street Fighter that they're doing. And so Edwin is on board doing one story arc, and Joe Ng is another artist at Udon who's doing another story arc of the new series. And they asked me if I wanted to do some backup stories. So the way they do it is they've got a lead story in each issue that is sort of the main plot line. But with so many characters in the Street Fighter cast, they have these backup stories that sort of give you some, the other characters, the secondary characters, what they're up to at the same time, or flesh out that world with more stuff so that you're getting more than just the main kind of cast all the time. And they asked me if I was interested, and of course, like I'm a huge Street Fighter fan, and Edwin and I getting to work together on those it's great. It feels like it's kind of full circle, and it's been very, very cool. So.
Real quick, who is your favorite Street Fighter character?
To play, I usually play Ken or Chun-Li. But like visually, design-wise, I really like Ibuki. I think she's really cool. I got to write the Street Fighter Legends Ibuki miniseries back in 2009, 2010. And Omar Dogan and I, he's an old friend from college, we got to work together on this miniseries. And that was an absolute blast. We got to sort of do her story and flesh it out and do all sorts of cool things with it. So I've got an even more of a soft spot for that character now. I'm not very good with her in the game. Like her play style isn't quite the way I play, but I still I think that character is really awesome.
Yeah, she's very aerial heavy. It's weird, but
yeah.
But yeah, so just to recap, the third arc of Wayward comes out November 18th. For anyone that's kind of been dragging their heels for whatever reason, the Image Firsts Wayward #1 for $1 comes out December 2nd. Yeah, come on, guys. Yeah. And the first 2 arcs are available on Comixology, in comic book stores anywhere. Is there any parting things you want to leave us with, kind of with Rory and kind of their, just one final tease for the third arc?
When people read issue 6, we kind of gave them a little bit of a hairpin turn where we changed sort of the focal point of who we were looking through their eyes. So we moved from Rory to O'Hara and showing a very different sort of side of the story. And we do the same thing in issue 11, and I think people their heads are gonna shake when they see what we do next.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us, Jim.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
My absolute pleasure.
All right, cool. What a classy gentleman.
He's a great guy.
Indeed.
That James Zub. Now, I'm pretty sure we've said this on the podcast before, but just since it's topical, who's your favorite Street Fighter character, guys?
Vega.
The yoga guy. I can.
Dhalsim.
Dhalsim. God, I'm more of a Mortal Kombat guy than Street Fighter. If you couldn't.
Me too. But
yeah.
Better film.
Street Fighter. Yeah. Although, Jean-Claude. We're going to kick his ass so hard.
The next bison is going to feel it. Josh, who's your favorite Street Fighter?
Josh.
Same as Chris.
So Dhalsim. I was always like Ryu and Fei Long, in terms of like their design capability, but in terms of just playing, I'm best with Blanca. I'm good with the charge characters.
I did enjoy playing as Chun-Li. That was fun.
Oh yeah, with the 100 kick. Yeah, but yeah. Well, it was good having him on. Now, in terms of other media things, I know that the three of us finally saw Steve Jobs.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. I have to put this out there. So if you've been listening to the show, we've been all about Mad Max Fury Road, even before that movie fucking came out.
Before that movie came out.
That was like the Mad Max is what brought this show together.
Basically, that, and then
he's not exaggerating.
Yeah, and then
this episode was like the first time that we really like hit our stride.
Yeah, episode
and that
3
was all about. Oh God, the Mad Max trailer came out, guys.
Yeah,
like
and then
6 months before the movie.
And then a more recent one, Sam had, not recently, but Sam had talked about, Ex Machina being a favorite of his, and I had talked about, Sicario recently being the top spot for me. But Steve Jobs, man.
Steve Jobs, what a winner.
Yeah.
What a winner of a film.
It's
very polemical. Like, people either love... Okay, sorry for using the big words, guys. People either love it or they...
Sorry, I've never heard polemical.
What? How do you normally hear it pronounced?
I don't.
Yeah.
You don't... Okay.
Polarizing?
Polarizing is a adverb.
Okay.
Form of that.
Gotcha. I've literally never heard the
like, as in like diametric poles.
No, I once I figured out what word you were saying, I figured out like how it works. But like, I've never heard someone say, "Oh, polemical." I thought you like had a stroke trying to say political, and I was like, "Well, Aaron Sorkin, okay,
Yeah.
Newsroom, West Wing, okay, yeah."
Steve Jobs was president.
president for life."
Yeah. But no, it's this very artistic little film, because it's kind
of like a play.
It's very much a play. It's not this standard kind of you see his birth, you see his death. It's 3 key moments in his life, spanning basically 15 years.
Remember in the W biography by Oliver Stone where he's like in college and he's clearly played by like 40-year-old Josh Brolin?
I had rewatched W recently, and there's like that scene where he's like, they're doing the initiations and they're like, say all the members of the fraternity, and then one guy's like, Bill, I don't remember, and then like Josh Brolin plays young George W. Bush, and he's clearly like a 40-year-old man, and he's like, I got it, and he just like nails he says all their names. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But Jobs is a fantastic movie with fantastic performances, really imaginative directing. and
Danny Boyle,
yeah, and this really kind of just underlying score that just is constant throughout the movie. This kind of like
you can
this beat, this constant like heartbeat throughout the movie, just because like it in the sense of the play being very much 3 acts, but also characters are constantly being brought in. Talk to this person needs to talk to you, talk to this person, and revisiting moments in his life. Some of my favorite stuff was when you meet a character in the film, say for what would be the last time in the film, you're also meeting them for the quote unquote first time in the film in a flashback. And the flashbacks are almost having this perfect conversation with each other.
It's like beautiful symmetry to it all.
Yeah, and then between 1984 and then they go to 88 and then they go to 98, they do this great little like time jump about like all the history going on. And it's just I don't know, it's unlike anything else this year.
If you haven't caught it yet, guys, when we brought up like Mad Max and Ex Machina and Sicario, Steve Jobs is the winner so far. Like Steve Jobs is... Josh, what's your favorite film of the year so far?
The Martian.
Still The Martian? Okay, right on. It's a good one. It's a top fiver for me so far. But I always compared it to a Sonata because Steve Jobs is a very musical guy. Kind of built his business model was the Beatles. He's like, four they were fine, but together they were better than the sum of their parts. But I always kind of compared it to a sonata because a sonata, the crowning moment of the symphony, has 3 movements: the exposition, the development, and the recapitulation. And in that sense, you've got these 3 different time periods, each a different movement within the sonata, and the third movement or the third period is very much kind of a recapitulation. A lot of the themes that were present in the first. That's just me. This is just me being really artsy fartsy, guys. Super artsy fartsy. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I kind of. I don't know. It was one of those movies that, like Birdman, kind of reminds me how powerful and how good film, like cinema, can be. Just walking out of that movie with a big smile on my face.
And then it's funny because a friend had asked this before, not about this and not directly to me, but it was on Facebook, about can you enjoy a historically inaccurate movie? Like, does that bother you? And it's funny because
it's pretty inaccurate from what I understand.
Very from what I've heard. But like the thing is, and at the time that question was posed on Facebook, Sam and I had just revisited Braveheart, which at the time, and I don't know if it still is considered like the most historically inaccurate movie ever made. But for me,
did you guys see Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
But some of a lot of people had responded saying yes. Historically inaccurate movie bothers them. It bothers them when things are twisted and turned like that. For me, I've never had a problem with that.
That's right. You posted that on Facebook and everyone was like, yeah.
Well, no, I had posted, everyone was kind of going, yes, it bothers me, like, I don't like this. And I had posted, I just saw Braveheart and it doesn't bother me. Like, for me, it was like a historically accurate movie, as crazy as it sounds, can be a great gateway to the actual events. Yeah. And for me, Steve Jobs does that very well.
Yeah, read the Isaacson book. Come
on. Lawrence of Arabia is a very historically accurate movie, and it opened the doors to the life of T.E. Lawrence, this fascinating individual. Same with The Aviator. The Aviator is not the most historically accurate movie, probably more so than Lawrence of Arabia or Steve Jobs or Braveheart, definitely. But I became like a Howard Hughes nut because of that movie. So I feel like, if it gets you interested enough to want to pick up a book, audiobook, or just Wikipedia it, for Christ's sake, it gets you going on this possible journey of like, hey, I've become a big Steve Jobs fan because of this.
Would you call that the best Sorkin script? Like compared to, say, A Few Good Men, The West Wing.
I think so, because
Social Network.
There's a couple lines that stuck out of my head that were just knock me out. There's a line where he says something about, and out of context is going to sound ridiculous probably, but he says something about God sent his only son on a suicide mission, and we love him because he made trees. And that was a line that just I was like, holy shit. And again, he found most of the people that are in his films and in the TV shows that he wrote, they work so well with his dialogue, which is probably why Jeff Daniels was back, because he was fucking great on The Newsroom. Yeah. And he's
always the standout.
When you find the person who can recite your dialogue the way you want, I feel like Max Landis found that with Jesse Eisenberg, and Cameron Crowe with Tom Cruise,
more so than what's his name that is in also multiple Cameron Crowe films.
That guy.
Yeah, not Matt Damon. Because Matt Damon's only in We Bought a Zoo. Yeah. Though he does a good job.
He does. He's very good. But just because he's worked with Matt Damon twice.
Because they bought a zoo.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who you'd be talking about.
Either way, but moving on.
Yeah.
So he found like Jeff Daniels kind of dialed in.
I think Jeff Daniels, but
Fassbender, of course.
Fassbender is like astounding.
I want him to get Best Actor.
He needs Best Actor.
Sorry, Leo. I know you're in the Revenant. I know you suffered in the Canadian wilderness to make this movie, but you're not Steve Jobs.
I mean, well, basically, what Michael Fassbender does is he takes this really wordy, heady script, and I love Sorkin, but at times you can kind of be like, settle down, and he.
I think he works better on film than he does in TV.
Yes, but
Moneyball is exponentially better than Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
it's like one long walk and talk the entire movie. You know what I mean? Steve Jobs, he's just constantly on the move and he's crushing people in one sense. He's kind of uplifting some people in some sense, but there's just this balancing act that he does throughout the entire movie.
There's a wall. The way that he's portrayed in the film is there's a wall to Steve Jobs, and if you can get through this like torrent of like when you first approach him of him just like being an asshole.
And I'm not saying that like the people who actually know him saying that they don't like the movie, that's totally fair, but I think again what movies can do is really ignite something inside the person who saw it to maybe want to, read more about it and be like,
if you're looking for a traditional biography, or if you're looking for even like a historically accurate film, look elsewhere. But if you're looking kind of like a character study of Steve Jobs on arguably the 3 most important days of his professional career, not his personal life, just his professional.
Well, one of the big things to play devil's advocate that I saw that kind of bummed people out is that it focuses on 2 of his failures, and it gets going right when what people would consider his genius is just picking up.
Yeah, the
and
idea
they're like,
is that,
why?
Yeah. Well, the idea is that the technology finally catches up to what he envisioned in 1984. Because he's like when they're first unveiling the Macintosh, everyone's like, you can't do anything with it. You've made it a closed source system, so it's compatible with like nothing.
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, it's got to be closed. It's got to be closed source.
Yeah.
So I think that was, and then by 1988 when the iMac came out, technology had caught up with
98.
it. Yeah. 1988 was the
Black Cube.
Yeah.
Was Apple's acquiring of Next.
Yes, exactly. Though he still spent some time out in the wilderness. That's where he co-founded Pixar. And did you know that Inside Out is I forget. It's either the first film without or the last film with Steve Jobs' creative input.
Huh.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, those movies
they're
take a while. Yeah.
They're in development they just announced that. I don't think we're going to get Incredibles 2 until like 2017, 2018.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the stuff that Steve Jobs is responsible for. Like, I think some people may have no idea that he was responsible for Pixar. So yeah, kind of look at like, what he accomplished in his life. It's kind of astounding.
Now, going on a completely opposite end of the cinematic spectrum, but still, from what I hear, enjoyable, Chris saw The Last Witchhunter.
I did.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Today, actually. It's still fresh in my mind.
So how
I'm
well
excited to hear about this.
Yeah, how well does Vin Diesel LARP on film?
Actually, quite well. Leading up to this movie, I was kind of like poking fun at it because it didn't really look good.
And the trailer doesn't look great, and it was attached to like everything.
Yeah. So I was like, I've heard for years and years that Vin Diesel is actually like a huge like D&D nerd and stuff like that, and like so like the biggest thing was like, man, I want to play D&D with Vin Diesel, but not like this, And then but
am
like
I the only one who thought it looked entertaining from the trailer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're being hunted.
But like, so a couple of my friends, I was hanging out with them last night, and they were like, we kind of want to go see it, and I was like, I'll go see it with you guys. So we all got together and we went to see it, and I gotta say, it actually was better than I was expecting. Not, it wasn't amazing, but
like C plus B minus grade?
Was it like Rock Hercules entertaining?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like along those lines.
It's entertaining. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, and like to be fair, that's kind of what I expect out of a movie, within that realm, because it's basically still like a popcorn action, summer movie.
Isn't Elijah Wood in it?
Yes, he is.
Cool.
He actually plays a big part, and Michael Caine is also in it.
Caine. The size of a tangerine.
Yes. So like all 3 of them come together. They all deliver great performances. The first time you see Vin Diesel in the movie, he's got a big old Viking beard and like not a mohawk because it's not
so
standing
weird
out, but
because
yeah,
you don't
it's so-
know you don't. Vin Diesel's like bald, like just
Yeah.
since birth. I mean, for real.
Wall Street or Boiler Room.
There are
Oh,
videos
okay.
of him in the late 80s popping and locking. YouTube it, guys at
Oh
home.
my god. That
It's
sounds
if
amazing.
you want to see
Pause
Vin
this
Diesel
podcast.
breakdance, that's your chance.
Is it better than Statham though?
Ooh.
Well, Statham was a diver, an Olympic diver.
I know, but the music video.
But he
Oh, the music video with
Music video.
Statham.
Yeah.
popping
Oh.
and locking.
God, if you haven't seen Jason Statham in those music videos, first off, it's actually the Statham music videos gets kind of grating. Once the novelty of seeing Jason Statham as like a silver man.
I'm gonna go with saying it's grating from the beginning, but what keeps you going is Statham's dancing.
Fair point. But yeah, you'll see it. But yeah, so it was okay.
Yeah, I actually I still don't understand why it needed to be like modern times. But the plot is that he back during like the Black Plague, he is part of this, pitchfork crew that goes and kills the Queen Witch, and he's the one that actually drives his flame sword through the Queen Witch.
Sword. Hashtag flame sword.
Yeah. So as a curse, like as a curse upon him, she curses him to eternal life.
So he's kind of like the Highlander.
Yeah. Because like they had this whole exchange at the end that was like, are you ready to die to go see your like wife and daughter together, finally, because they're dead from the plague or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I want to die. And she's like, well then fuck you. And then the whole story is about them using I see it, Sam. I was trying to talk. Sorry, my computer was being weird.
Fine.
And Sam kept distracting me by pointing at it as if I weren't also seeing it.
A simple nod would have done.
But yes. The Last Witchhunter is entertaining.
Is there okay? This scene's in the trailer, and I need, for the life of my children, which probably will never exist, to know if this scene happens in the finished project. Is there a scene where he's hoisting his Viking Diesel is hoisting his daughter, and she just disappears in his hands, and he looks really confused about it?
Yes.
Yes.
Worth it.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite scene in the trailer.
It's part of a whole rigmarole of him jumping around in his memories to.
Does it have a
find
scene
something.
when they
It's
go
like a flashback
when he goes
thingy.
like, do you know what scares me? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of those scenes involve what's her name, who plays Ygritte on Game of Thrones.
Oh, Rose Leslie.
Yeah. For the life of me, I couldn't put my finger on why I knew her the entire movie, because I'm so used to seeing her in like bulky furs and stuff like that, like looking like twice as stocky as she actually is in this movie, because in this movie she's just a modern 20-something New Yorker.
Yeah, she's actually quite petite, I think.
Yeah, very in this movie, very petite, and I'm just like, she looks familiar. Accent, and I'm like,
She's Scottish.
yeah.
Oh, so I thought you said New Yorker. My bad.
No, well, it takes place in New York, right. So, but like she's using her natural accent of Scot.
I'm on a roll.
Yeah. just gonna stop the podcast right now and leave. And fuck you guys. So yeah, no, I recommend checking it out. I paid full price to it, but I wouldn't be offended if you guys still wanted to go see it at like a $5 Wednesday.
Was it at Corner?
No, I actually it was with my friend Mike, who lives all the way out in Alexandria, so we actually went to the Hoffman Center.
Oh, wow, I haven't been there in forever.
In forever.
Yes.
So you've never been there. Also, a double prepositional phrase.
Yeah, that's where I saw the Martian.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
3D.
go leave now.
That's fine. I'm leaving too, even though this is my house.
Last Witchhunter. But anyway, I got a Wii U. Just putting that out there.
Oh, really?
I thought someone else. Yeah.
Pause for the canned laughter. But
that's-
finally,
that's-
now that you have like 37 amiibos,
28 now. Yeah, thanks to Mr. Butler, I've got
Who buttles?
yes, I've got my 28th amiibo, the green yarn Yoshi, which comes with Yoshi's Woolly World, which he also got me because he got a new job.
Yeah.
He now works in video games.
It must get pretty cramped in there.
Bye, Chris. Bye.
But
I don't think it's fair to say I work in video games.
Work with video games?
Bye, Josh. Bye.
but
You hawk video games.
yeah, you work
that's
in
better. That's
you work
better.
in the retail, kind of like how Jake used to work in the comics industry through retail. You work in the video game industry through retail.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you.
Sounds more impressive to just say you work in the video game industry.
Yeah, I was
there.
gonna be giving you the broad, nice.
Yeah.
But thank you for the amiibo.
And now you can make amiibo Samus or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
yeah, if I want to make
well-
if I want to make a Greninja Yoshi, I
Yeah.
could make a Greninja Yoshi.
Congratulations, Sam. This is the only time I will ever buy a Wii U game in my life.
Congratulations, Sam. This is the only time I'm going to do anything nice for you.
Speaking of Josh things, you can come back, Josh. He bought me a Darth Vader pop figure because Darth Vader's my favorite.
Better than Kylo Ren?
Yes, but he sent me because when he was like, talking about like, I just dropped him. Talking
Doing
about
everything.
Star Wars pop
Thanks,
figures.
Jake.
You're welcome. And it's talking about Star Wars pop figures, and he was like, who you like? And I was like, well, like Yoda and Vader. And then like later on, he was like, who do you like more? And I was like, Vader. And he goes, oh, thank God.
Because I already bought it.
Yeah, that was exactly why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
But
You can hang out next to my Kylo Ren.
yeah,
Chris, you might as well say what I got you, even though it hasn't unfortunately
Yeah,
arrived yet.
So I forget which company it is, but someone,
Mondo.
sure, Mondo, has released that they will be selling a new vinyl version of the soundtracks to all 3 Back to the Future movies. They're offering 2 different ways to get them. You can either get a box set, which is pretty cool. It comes like in like a plutonium, box from the first movie. And then you have like the individual movies, in like their own sleeves, and each one have a very minimalistic cover. Or you can buy them all individually, and they have a bit of a fancy cover, but you don't get the plutonium case. Josh was nice enough to order me the first movie's soundtrack, which will ship sometime in 2016. Because
Wait, that's when Christmas happens, right?
yeah.
there should be a Christmas in 2016. Yes,
Eventually, I'm sure there will be one.
but yeah, I mean it's great with
It's
the
actually a bobblehead too.
Yeah, all the Star Wars and Marvel are bobbleheads.
Okay.
yeah. I don't know why.
I remember being annoyed when Pop first started becoming popular because they all look like bobbleheads and like none of them were, and I was like, but why?
Yeah. People always ask me
Why do I feel different? The little thing about the this is a little bit of an unboxing podcast.
Yeah. So visual.
Yeah, but like the cool thing is on the Vader pop figure, he has his lightsaber out, and the cool thing is, like, if
you
you
actually stab someone,
you could stab somebody with this. I have the only other Star Wars one I have is the Kylo Ren, and he has the broadsword lightsaber, and it's like clearly like the from what we've seen like in the trailers and stuff, it's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
it's
fuzzy.
effervescent.
Yeah, it's
distorted.
It's distorted, yes. And this one's clearly not, so that's kind of a cool little like
solid.
nod to Vader. I'm just staring at him, staring at his eyes.
But
Eyes or
Well, it works.
goggles?
It works
Lenses.
because he's got the circular eyes already. Like it just works.
right.
The dome. He's given Thanos. Or is it Thanos that you have?
I
No, you have
I have
Darkseid. He's giving Darkseid a run for his money with that dome.
Oh, with dome size.
Dome head.
Yeah.
From behind, he looks like Big Helmet or
Dark helmet.
Dark Helmet.
From Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee,
I
wonder why.
saw the director's cut when they called him Big Helmet.
Right.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just kidding.
I hadn't.
I was trying to save any nerd cred I had because I've only
and
seen
you
Spaceballs.
lost even more.
Because I've only seen Spaceballs once.
For the longest time, I couldn't, as a child, not, after like, I hit double digits, it went away. But for the longest time, I couldn't differentiate Spaceballs from Star Wars in my memory. So like, because I didn't watch either that frequently when I was a kid. So they just kind of merged into one movie. And then when I was like 12, I rewatched the original Star Wars movie, and I was like, there's something weird about this movie. And then like during the Obi-Wan Darth Vader fight at the end, I was like, why aren't their lightsabers getting tangled together? Because that was something that I vividly remembered from Star Wars.
Well, this could be a nice little...
and then like 5 years later, I watched Spaceballs, and I was like, oh!
A nice little segue here, because you recently saw, for the first time, First Blood.
Yes.
And you were talking... And granted, I know that the parody aspect of it doesn't really come from First Blood,
Mm-hmm.
but you had seen, was it Hot Shots Part 2?
Yeah.
Which...
Well, both Hot Shots,
yeah,
but
but the, borrows heavily from the Rambo mythos,
Yeah.
especially, First Blood Part 2.
Yeah.
The shirtless, jacked Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you hadn't seen it, I was trying to, like, clear your mind of anything you thought Rambo was, because First Blood is very much not... They're running around shirtless, muscle-bound.
What was funny
60.
was like, well, I don't really know anything about Rambo at all. And then, like, as we're watching it, I realized, oh no, I know all these, parodies. The Hot Shots, that one scene in UHF.
Yeah. He's clearly got the.
Is it Loaded Weapon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Loaded Weapon I think is more Lethal.
Well, Lethal
Weapon.
Weapon. But I mean, we saw Lethal. We watched the first
we
Lethal
also
Weapon
watched
after
the
that.
first Lethal Weapon, which I had never seen.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen Lethal Weapon 4.
Mm-hmm. 4 is so much fun, man. Like
Yeah.
that. 4 is exactly.
Yeah, I'll take 4 over 3.
4 is exactly what I like. I wasn't like diehard freaking Lethal Weapon fan when I was 1 year old, but like when it came out. But like
I was.
What I would have wanted and what I did want to see in a reunion, for a fourth film, a way to go out, because it just brings this family of just great characters together. All by the same actors and actresses, and just really damn entertaining. And Jet Li's first like big American thing ever.
Weren't you telling me that they actually used like the same
Yeah,
actors
they did.
and actresses for the kids?
Yeah, for the
all
kids.
4?
And I also want to make a thing. I had said wrongfully so that Lethal Weapon 2 was the first one to show a cell phone. It's actually the first Lethal Weapon, not Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah.
Because that's the movie for the longest time. I would get both those confused because those are the ones I've seen so much. It's kind of like, you say with Back to the Future, you want, when you sit down to watch one, you kind of want to watch all 3.
Yeah.
With Lethal Weapon, I kind of want to watch just the first 2, and knock those out.
And speaking of all 3
And speaking of it,
my friend Ken and I, we went to see all 3 Back to the Futures this past Wednesday on Future Day, October 21st, 2015, the day that Marty McFly goes to the future in Back to the Future Part 2. Out here in Northern Virginia, in a little town called Reston, they changed the name of the town to Hill Valley for the week.
really?
And by that I mean they put up a banner that said "Welcome to Hill Valley" in like the Reston Town Center. But yeah, it was cute, and the Bowtie Cinemas there in Reston, they showed all 3 as part of their Washington film festival. It has I apologize because that's an abbreviated version of their name. I can't remember the full name, but it was Washington something Film Festival. And then today, the day of our recording, they did like a red carpet premiere, quote unquote red carpet premiere, since it's Back to the first Back to the Future. I think it's the first Back to the Future, but Christopher Lloyd is actually there with them.
I mean, that's awesome, but why did he show up to this? Like, was it some significance to him, or they're just like, hey, we got him?
I think they just were able to get him for
Cool.
this. This is, if I remember correctly, this is the anniversary of the release. Like, today is the anniversary of the release of the first one in theaters. So about 30 years. Yeah, 30 years ago.
Was it weird watching the movie now, it taking place, quote unquote, in the past? Like, it not being a future movie anymore? That even go through your mind, like, that's so weird?
Well, leading up to it, that went through my mind because everyone was posting, you're like, oh, as of Wednesday, these movies are going to be all about the past. And I was like, fuck you, it's still the future to me. And like, one of the reasons why the Back to the Future franchise, not just any one of them individually, are like my favorite movies is that it's pretty much the only movies that I can watch where I'm still like 100% transported back to being a kid watching them for the first time. And it was so great being able to watch all 3 of them in a theater because I was too young, save for the third one, because the third one was one of the first movies that I saw in a theater. But it was so great being able to watch all 3 of them in a theater. I had seen the first one in theaters. Like, I went to a screening for the 25th anniversary. You can, if you turn around, you can see the poster on my wall over there from that screening. And then earlier this year they had just a random showing of it at the Alamo, and I went to that and I got a couple cool knickknacks from it. But like being able to watch all three in more or less one sitting was just so cool and like a big thing for me. And like it was like the perfect day to do it. And like I was leading up to it, I was having like a really shitty week. So being able to watch it, like to kind of like cheer me up and stuff like that. It was so good.
That's what favorite movies are for.
Exactly.
I bought Rocky for the 5th time. Speaking of favorite movies, like I bought it on DVD. This is the crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Blu-ray I bought with Voodoo Code is the 40th anniversary. It's not the 40th anniversary of Rocky till next year, but it's still cool. It's still cool. I'm fine with it.
You got it from
it's
the
cool.
future.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's fine, guys. But the weird thing is the first time I ever bought it, it was the 20th anniversary, which is crazy to me. That's been 20 years that I've been like watching Rocky and buying Rocky and like loving the Rocky franchise. So I bought it on DVD the 20th anniversary first. Then I bought like the collection on VHS. So that was the second. So I have a VHS. Then I bought I think they had a 25th anniversary or 30th anniversary. I think it had the 30th anniversary when they were getting ready to release Rocky Balboa with like one of the big things I love commentary. I think we all love commentary in movies, obviously. But Stallone did a commentary finally. He had done like a video kind of, not commentary, but just kind of a thing, a retrospective for the 20th. And then I bought the Blu-ray, which was the 40th anniversary when I was at Barnes & Noble. And the 5th one is like it's the digital, like the Voodoo Code now I have forward finally. And I want to look to see, like just for Laserdisc, just for fun, to be like, hey, there you go. I have it on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, digital, and Laserdisc.
I've seen plenty of auctions for it on eBay.
Yeah, I'll have to check. But
that's
just reminded.
What I'll get you for Christmas.
That's just reminded me about.
No Betamax?
No, I mean I'm not in a rush for that one. you can't hang that one on a wall.
You think I have a Betamax player?
Yeah. You can't hang it on my wall like I can't. Well, I mean, the Laserdisc, you can hang up like a vinyl or something.
That's true.
Yeah, because the only other one I have, Rocky would be really the only other one I'd ever get. I have the Rocketeer as well on Laserdisc because that's just cool looking.
You don't have Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Raiders, like if push came to shove, but Rocky is, I feel like I'd have to have Rocky in there. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying though. If you're ever bummed out having a, bummer of a week or a day or something like that, it's always nice to throw in a movie you like. And I used to always, stupidly so, watch Rocky the night before my finals in college.
Found a Laserdisc for Rocky for $5.
That's a cool cover. I've never seen that cover for Rocky before, ever.
Yeah.
That's cool, because it's usually him and Adrian or him on top of the stairs. That's kind of cool. I've never seen that cover before.
Yeah.
It's him sitting like leaning on the ropes the night before the fight when he's like, hey, there's you got me wearing white trunks with a red stripe. I'm wearing red stripe with a white trunk. Doesn't really matter. You're going to give us a good show. For all you psychopaths out there who love Rocky. But
there's a Rocky 2 for $3. I think it's the same guy selling them too.
Nice.
Oh, hey, he's got Rocky 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm probably 4 too. But yeah, it's I was trying to explain to my mom what Laserdiscs are because I forgot why we were on the topic of Laserdiscs. Oh, we were talking about I think I was talking about Rocky and Laserdisc. And she was like, "What's a Laserdisc?" I was like, "The Bozics never had a Laserdisc player. Don't worry about it. The Bozics skipped that one." And my dad's like, "Yeah, Marge, don't worry about it. We skipped it."
Marge.
Yeah, we skipped the Laserdiscs. So
I don't know why, but I like the idea of your dad yelling your mom's name.
That's wild, man. It's wild. But to touch back on the Wii U thing, you finally got to
play.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
You finally got to play both Super Mario 3D World and Nintendo Land.
I did, yeah.
And Chris, you've played Nintendo Land. I've played Nintendo Land with you at Zach's.
Yeah, Zach. Shout out to Zach.
Yeah, he's our number one fan.
Tweets us a lot.
Yeah, but the what did you think of it? Because I've already.
It was cool, man. I mean, it's I think it's very at first the control that you can look through. Like the alternate screen
the
thing.
gamepad.
Yeah, the burp, sorry. The alternate the screen, the gamepad. At first I was like, what's the fucking point? Like, why would you look at this when you could be looking at a TV? But so much of the Nintendo world games are so great because they're totally, the one player's looking at this and we can't see what they're looking at and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I love that.
So it was fun. Yeah, I mean, once I saw it in action, it made sense, you finally won me over, Wii U. You did a good job. You
still hasn't won over Josh though.
But
never.
But no, I really enjoyed some of the attractions they had, the games you could play, like the Luigi's Mansion was really fun. I enjoyed the Metroid one.
Mario Chase.
Mario Chase is broken. And fuck you, Mario Chase. Although it's fun. If it's one-on-one, it's kind of ridiculous. But if you have at least 3 people playing the games, it's really fun. Like especially Luigi's Mansion. The Candy one is the Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
that one's pretty fun too. It's just fun. I mean, it's like the Mario Party stuff. It's just fun. It's harmless.
It's just fun.
Yeah, it's harmless for everybody. Family fun. The Mario one is really cool too. I wouldn't mind playing more of that.
Oh, Super Mario 3D World.
Yeah, it's like competitive co-op.
Yeah, it takes the
thing.
kind of the new Super Mario Brothers model, which was kind of like been Nintendo's bread and butter with Mario games lately, where it's just kind of like a competitive side scroller, and they took it and they made it like a 3D platformer, and it's all right. It is. I think it's the competitive aspect that makes it fun.
Yeah, that's what made because we were playing with 3 people with nondescript John.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they would go back to for single player. I kind of wish they'd go back to the Super Mario Galaxy model, where it's like these big cinematic adventures. But apparently Miyamoto wasn't a fan of that. Shigeru Miyamoto, fantastic. He created Mario, he created Legend of Zelda and all that. But if he doesn't like something, he isn't shy about it. Like, he didn't like Mario Galaxy because he felt this, like, why are we putting story in a Mario game? Why is that a thing? He didn't like Donkey Kong Country. He felt it catered to dumb Westerners that are us.
Yeah. That are Wii U.
Yeah. And he didn't. I think was kind of instrumental in not releasing. I think he was. What I think it was he was still bitter that the original Super Mario Brothers 2 was never released in the United States because Nintendo of America deemed it too difficult for us.
Stupid Westerners.
Yeah, that's us, man. Yeah.
And yet we got Donkey Kong Country.
Well, that was developed by Rare.
Damn it, Rare! You had one job.
Yeah. Well, I love Donkey Kong Country. Do you not like Donkey Kong Country?
Sam, do you just enjoy 6 sadistic games that like to punish people?
I play a lot of Mega Man, so
yes.
Mega Man, Castlevania, anything that's like NES hard makes
Sam NES hard.
That's where I was trying to
statement.
Yeah, I was trying to go there. Yeah, the Power Glove doesn't do it for me anymore, but
so bad.
Yeah. But no, it's I kind of wish they would go back to that because, I love games like Super Mario 64. I love Super Mario Galaxy. I love Super Mario Sunshine for all its flaws. So, yeah, but I do like Super Mario 3D World. Now I've got Yoshi's Woolly World, which is kind of like the same basic idea, but it's a straight-up side-scroll, and it kind of takes after Yoshi's story.
Yeah, come on, Sam. Hold it up for all the listeners at home.
Yeah.
Wait. Hey, hold it up at the same time so you can see my Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And I'm holding my vinyl.
Listen. Just so you know, listen, wait. There it is. He's there. He's bobbling.
That's his penis. It's really...
Yeah, you need to put that back in your pants or save it for after the show.
Either put
got a
it
big
back
dome.
Either put it back in your pants or in Sam's mouth. One of the two.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah, my dad doesn't listen to this.
My dad says that we make too many dick jokes. Little too fresh for.
He's put off by the penis.
Yeah, apparently, at least by yours.
Should we remind him that he has one of his own?
I'm pretty sure he's aware. He has 5 kids.
Unless there's a secret.
The secret.
Yeah. But no, it's been a good week. Again, check out Wayward. It really is like to call it just. I mean, there is certainly Buffy in Japan.
Yeah, that'll get you in, but then you'll
there's so
appreciate
much more.
There's a lot more.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much of Japanese folklore that's untouched, untapped, and Jim Zub, like, to tie it to Mario because I can do that because I'm a fucking boss. there's the Kappa turtle demons, which are the basis for Koopa Troopas.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense now.
But, Bowser is kind of like this manifestation of this ancient, like, Japanese legend of, like, evil turtle man.
Yeah.
He's called Koopa in the Japanese version. He isn't called Bowser in the Japanese version.
King Koopa.
Isn't what's-his-face called Vega? Originally in Street Fighter?
In Street Fighter, the...
original boss is named Vega, right?
Original boss is Vega. But
it's not the same Vega.
Because... Balrog is M. Bison because he's clearly modeled off Mike Tyson. So they just changed it to M. Bison. and
Clever.
and then when they were releasing it in the United States, they were like, "Oh, he might sue us. Let's name him Balrog." Because Balrog was the original Vega name, which is pretty badass, right?
Yeah.
But no.
Ball rug. Come on.
Yeah.
He just looks badass.
Better
That's
than
the main thing.
Sagat. Yeah. So,
Bob Saget.
that's what I always compared it to. But the so check out Skullkickers too while you're at it. What the fuck? Why not? It's fully done. You can get it all in trade. It's all in Comixology. But yeah, Wayward. New arc on which is issue 11 on November 18th. If you want to get that $1 Wayward #1 on December 2nd, that's when that'll be available. But it's all out there on Comixology and comic shops everywhere. That first trade's only $10. Great stocking stuffer, or you can put it under Menorah's.
Do you put it under Menorah's?
No, it's in a. You wrap it up, and then Ramadan. All you do is fast. You don't. The gift on Ramadan is just the feast at the end of every day. So I can't unless you decide to change your Ramadan plans to feast and read. Maybe make that a thing. I don't know. It's up to you guys.
Way to be a trendsetter, Sam.
I try.
He's a man of the world.
I try. No, I don't. But yeah. So but seriously, it's a great book. Check it out. Stay on the lookout for Street Fighter Unlimited with backups by Jim Zub in December. It's going to be phenomenal. All right. You guys got anything to add before we sign off?
I did recently watch all 3 of the Matrix movies.
Oh.
And it was nice seeing Jada Pinkett Smith not play a fish, a mooney.
I watched her in Scream 2, not being a fish, a mooney.
No, she just dies hard.
She dies hard at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
All she wanted to see was a Sandra Bullock movie.
Yeah.
And instead, she goes to see Stab.
Yeah, and then gets stabbed.
And then
I swear if she comes
dies.
back to Gotham, I'm giving up on that show.
Are there rumors that she's coming back?
No.
There's always rumors.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward
No,
to...
there's people who are spreading rumors.
At the time of this podcast, when it releases, the first episode of Supergirl will have debuted, and I'm very excited to talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
me
Yeah.
too.
It's set to record on my DVR.
Oh,
so
I can't
think,
wait. I'm so
Are we
excited.
all going to have input on that?
I
Sam?
hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super psyched on it.
Right? Yeah.
Giants won too, yay.
Yeah. So did Skins.
Skins had the biggest comeback in franchise history.
Yeah.
I'm actually...
Don't call it a comeback.
I'm for Kirk Cousins' sake. I'm happy. I'm good for him because
Yeah.
he was a fucking beast. I was like, can we cuss on this? He's a beast.
Yeah.
He was a beast today. So good for him.
Yes, we can cuss.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know why I'm thinking of that
you know,
now.
Yeah, there's a red E for explicit
Yeah.
on the end.
You know what? Before the interview, I meant like the couple times that we've had an interview, I've been like, we need to tell him before we start recording that you
Yeah.
can't cuss,
My favorite.
just so we don't have that obligatory. Oh, can I cuss on?
No,
But you know what?
I
He
love
didn't
that.
even ask.
I love that. My favorite thing, we had that moment I've always wanted to have when we had Richard Meyer
C.
on.
Meyer, yeah.
And he goes, "Can I cuss on this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's one of those." I was
No,
like, yeah.
even better because we cussed first, and he's like, "Well, since I heard you cuss,
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm going to assume I can do it too."
yeah.
No, you're not allowed to cuss.
Yeah.
Only we can.
I think
cuss.
the only person that knew she could cuss from the outset
Corey.
was Corey because she had listened to
Well,
the show.
Yeah, didn't Ilya ask?
I think Ilya asked
And
as
I was
well.
like,
Maybe
you
it's
don't
okay,
even
yeah.
know who I am, Ilya. We've been friends for years.
Yeah. Did you see him when you were in New York?
Yes, I did get to see him.
Yeah, he had an artist alley table at Special Edition.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did not get to do that at Comic-Con.
It's
But
a little more
Comic-Con's
pricey.
Yeah. But I did get to see Ilya, Nicole, and Steph, who I don't think I've talked about on the podcast, but they're all friends, and they're all friends of mine from New York.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's been another installment. Be sure to pick up Wayward and Skullkickers. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake and bobblehead Darth Vader.
I'm Josh.
And
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
Damn, that beat was dope.